Hello and welcome to Buying and Beyond, the podcast that takes you behind the scenes of retail buying. We're Kate and Linz, and together we have over 30 years experience in retail.
We'll be talking all things retail buying and beyond, so grab your drink of choice and come and have a giggle with us.
We are so excited to have another guest with us today, one of our very special trauma friends, Calli.
Hi, Calli.
Welcome.
I'm good. It's funny that you started with that reference because that was one of my favourite episodes. And I was trying to explain to Andy, I was like, there's nothing like a buyer friend because it is trauma bonding.
Yeah.
And like if you can make friendships in that environment, those are the friendships that you're going to keep. Like
friendships for life. Yeah.
Yeah.
You go through so much that no one else will ever understand.
Yeah, like the competition with one another, like just with jobs or even just in trade, and then being pitched against each other to try and get more work out of one another, like all that stress.
We all started together as BAAs, then you both left me at AB, you both headed off to new companies, and Calli, you went high end.
I did.
You were always destined for it. I mean, you were always dressed to perfection.
Oh, that's very kind.
That necklace you always used to wear, do you remember that?
Yes.
Oh, the big chunky gold.
Yeah.
Big chunky one. It was like the high street necklaces didn't quite suit you. You needed that designer edge.
Do you know what? I have still got that. But it needs to be resprayed. So it just goes to show that the more expensive price points are not always worth it, because the gold it's still gold plated, but the gold rubs off. And I remember I got it resprayed for free once, because of working in accessories at the place I worked. But they told me that I couldn't wear it with fake tan or perfume, and I was like, I'm literally 99% fake tan and perfume. How can I ever wear this necklace again?
That's brilliant. I know.
Spells the end of it for that necklace.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I guess it was quite a crazy path, because you know, I actually didn't start as a BAA with you guys. I started as a branch planner. Do you remember?
I do remember that. Yeah.
But I sat behind you, Katie.
Well, if we start right at the very
yeah,
we actually worked together in a retail store, didn't we?
We did.
Did one shift together.
Yeah.
And I remember being like, yeah, she's my vibe.
Yeah.
Like, you know, when you just know, you see somebody, you're like, yeah. Like, I think we did like a 4-hour shift together, didn't we?
Yeah, it was so fun.
We were both working in store for the retailer, and then I went off. I think that was one of my last shifts.
I think you were already set to work with their head office.
Yes.
And
after you joined, and not only did you join the head office, but you literally had the seat behind me. Like, we were back to back.
It was destiny.
It was destiny. Yeah. And I was so rubbish at the job I'd been hired for, because it was all maths and spreadsheets, which of course, ironically, is what buying is.
But at the time, it didn't feel like it. And not at that point either, not at that level. To be fair, at that level, you are like, it's creative in a way, because where should I put the post boxes? What area should the post boxes go in? Well, how can I strategically and creatively put these boxes all packaged up on top of each other so they don't fall on somebody? Like,
that's what I was jealous of. I just wanted to move the boxes, and instead I was stuck doing, I can still remember it, VH lookups on Excel.
Oh, how dull.
I know, all day, every day. And I would get told off like I was at school. I remember, like, Calli, stop talking to them. Calli, turn round. Calli. And like in my reviews, I got really told off by my line manager. She didn't like that I was spending so much time with the buying team. And it just came out as like a very personal attack. Like, there was nothing actually wrong. Well, there probably was loads wrong with my work, let's be honest. But, you know, like it wasn't the focus of the delivery.
So how did you feel, Calli, when that position came up and you could potentially move from that?
I mean, I never thought it was a possibility. Like, because obviously I'd entered into this really different avenue, and I loved I loved the environment so much. I loved the energy of it, and like I managed to sort of like absorb the creativity through like knowing you guys and like sitting near you and being in that environment. Like I was so happy just absorbing that every day.
Yeah.
I think the buyers saw that as well. Like definitely
Yeah.
my team. I think the buyers identified that you were somebody that was not in the right role
Well,
where you
yeah,
were.
I think so. And it was actually the head of buying who gave me the opportunity. And it was such a random situation. Like, so do you remember when the Chanel nail polish colors just suddenly became like the thing?
Yeah.
And it was the apple green color. It was like a pastel apple green, and
I
like
know what you
everyone
mean.
had different versions of the shade and stuff. And she commented on my nails, and the retailer at the time was considering starting, and I think they did actually do it in the end, a
Yeah.
makeup line. And because of that, she said, "Oh, well, we're doing this at the moment. I would love for you to come in to one of our product review meetings." And I was like, "Oh my God."
She thinks I'm cool.
Yeah, I was like, this is the best day of my career ever. Someone has commented on my nails, and now I get to go and comment on some stuff.
Isn't that the
And I
best way
just,
to get a new job as well? Like I just wore really good nail varnish and they gave me a job.
I know, so it was just such a random situation. And from that, they liked how I reviewed the product. And then this position was like opening up on, it was the accessory, I can't remember what it was hats, gloves, and scarves. And they were like, this position's opening up. And obviously, I had the huge benefit of knowing UKT and knowing the girls and being like, I don't know what to do, because I was coming through a really non-traditional way. So I didn't know about mood boards, buying boards, like having to go and do like price comparisons, like look at products in other stores. And you guys all gave me like this crash course, and off I went. And I just loved it so much that I think that made up for like possibly lack of experience in my interview. And I got the job, and that's how I moved across into buying.
Amazing. And your passion came through.
Yes.
That's so
Yeah.
exciting. That's so exciting.
But yeah, and so yeah, I did that for a few years with you guys. Then I ended up being on lingerie and like hosiery, like lingerie and hosiery or something, which I loved. I think that was my favorite.
You're more of a lingerie girl than a hats, gloves, and scarves.
Yeah.
Also, I was
So-
allergic to the wool in the scarves, and I used to have huge rashes all over my
Oh
arm.
my gosh, really? That is hilarious. So what did you love about the lingerie team versus the hats, gloves, and scarves?
Well, I just loved the product. Like, I think like that was the first time that like, like looking at like Panettone, like, and like really understanding like the intricacies, sorry, behind like shades of pink.
Yeah.
Like just really delving into it and like being so specific and sending off CADs and like seeing the product come back and like,
It's like
like
that Devil Wears Prada bit when she's like, but the blue's so different. Like, you
yes.
understand that reference now?
Yeah, no, exactly. I just loved it so much. You could be so creative, because like we'd like have like sock patterns, like just it was just a very fun experimental area. Like we weren't one of the main drivers of sales within the company, so I think like you weren't so heavily scrutinized, yet you had a little bit more freedom to be a bit more fun with some items.
Yeah.
And it was just lovely. And like we had shoes, which was great. Like, and I think at some point they decided to put a bit more money into the shoes because the shoes started doing really well. And like that was like my first experience of like naming stuff after yourself. Like, you used to do stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like I remember with jewelry, there was the Calli crystal bling ring, which was this huge like disco ball bling, which I was so proud of. And then in shoes with the cauliflower shoe, but it came back looking like a cauliflower. And it actually did really well, but every week in trade it was like the cauliflower shoe up on this point on the sales board.
Oh, brilliant.
I think I just really enjoyed the variety of the product and like the ability to be creative with it, but it was also quite stressful because it was a real introduction into like the risks behind being able to do patterns and being creative, because obviously you could send off a CAD, your buyer would have, or your assistant buyer would have like a very specific idea of what it would look like, and you'd wait and wait and wait, and then it would come back, open it up, and just like abject disappointment, like just like their interpretation of what you know, your picture would be so off. You couldn't understand how they thought it was even remotely similar.
Yeah, I remember getting
got
some stuff back like that. It's just you had to be so specific, didn't you? Like you almost had to sort of like draw it right out on the PowerPoint, otherwise they would just go off completely.
The right measurements and the right Pantones or the right material reference. But even then, like I remember having a beautiful ring and thinking it was going to come back looking really like expensive, and they had the tackiest stone in it, and just immediately the plating color on it made it look cheap, and then the stone in it made it look cheap, and then and your buyer's like, and this, and you're like, well, in my mind it was really lovely, like this is not how it was supposed to look, and then you suddenly
this is not my ring.
And
like, of course, like the lead times and stuff, and there's just so much pressure because you have, you send it off, you wait and you wait and you wait, it comes back, and then you're like, I'm supposed to be ordering this and shipping it soon. That was also some of my toughest times because it was a really busy team, as they all were. But it was the first time I was starting to do, like the working till 9 p.m, working late on a Friday, coming in on a Saturday, like, coming in really early in the morning. And like, that sense that you've never managed to get your job done. Like that was like, and like that I'm feeling short of breath talking about it a bit because like it was my like first introduction into like the stress behind it. But I of course understand now from perspective, but I once got socks thrown at me because they came back because they came back so well, and she just threw them at me because she was just so cross, and obviously she didn't mean to, like, but I was like, I've just been hit in the face with a pair of socks.
Oh my God.
Just because she was so upset.
It's that adrenaline, isn't it, which can be really kind of like channeled in very different ways, and it can be amazing that you've got so much adrenaline from all this like these ideas and this fast pace, and you need to move really quick, and I love that, and you're all fiery about everything, designs and looking wonderful, and then it can really be channeled in completely the wrong way when you just get really too over invested, and next thing you have chucked socks at your BA.
Exactly. There you go. It's all about growth, isn't it? So I think, so that's probably why it's my favorite. It's like my favorite memory of being at that retail.
And what kind of was going through your mind when you decided, not sure if I really want to do this anymore, I'm going to start looking elsewhere? What was your thought process behind all of that?
I think it's the lack of progression, isn't it? It's such a difficult industry. Like, you're told all the time, there's a million girls that want this role. It's very, very low paid. It's hard hours, high expectations. You take things very personally because, especially in product-based buying, it is personal, that you are putting so much of yourself into it. Like, of course it's trends, of course it's like led by data, but like you still put your personal self into these things.
You chose it, you selected
it. Exactly, you chose it, and then if things don't perform well, and like, I didn't even really get to that stage, but I was just so fed up of like constantly going for roles that were like not given to me, or like were taken away again, and like the roles that just weren't coming through, and like knowing that you'd have to wait for someone to basically leave in order and then like you'd all go for it, and
you'd all go for it. Exactly.
I remember what that was so hilarious, wasn't it, where we all used to go for the same role, and
you'd all have to go for it.
You'd be like, best person wins, but you're secretly hoping it was you, and then
and you're all better friends because you're all sort of like same level, and normally you share everything. You're doing a project and you're all suddenly a bit secret squirrel about it. I haven't really done much on mine. Have you done much on yours? No, hardly. Secretly like, working all-nighters.
all weekend. I remember my flatmate at the time, she was just like, I cannot believe how much work you have to do for an interview in this industry. Like,
well, exactly. I think that was it, and I can't really think of if there was like a definitive moment. But I think it was just like the total, all the bits building up, and then like I was just looking at opportunities, and I don't think I went for many interviews at other places actually, because of course it was so difficult to go for interviews anywhere. Because you were working all the time. There's no flexibility. You weren't allowed to go for a doctor's appointment, let alone like just be randomly missing for an hour or something.
You had no
so
time to prepare, let alone go to it.
Yeah,
and
super tough.
People would get so suspicious as well, wouldn't they?
So suspicious.
Yeah,
and
you're wearing something slightly different, and you're like, interview. I remember that because I used to spend most of my time, because it was at that time, in Uggs, leggings, and a long cardi.
Yeah, that was your uniform.
Suddenly she turns up wearing something a little smarter. She's just trying out a new trend, but no, everyone thinks like she's got an interview.
Yeah. Well, totally. I remember like I was so late for, I think, the second interview at this place, that I had to get a black cab because I just rush across. I just can't remember.
I feel like that's also, sorry to butt in there, but I feel like that's also, you're just starting to live that new persona.
Yeah, maybe.
I'm going for this job, but this more design place, I must jump in black cab. I need to, this is my, my new
this is
role.
my new lifestyle.
Yeah, all encompassing.
And I was in heels as well, because that was the thing when I was first there.
Wasn't there a requirement that you had to wear a certain height of heel and full face?
There was a strange crossover. So when I joined, we all got a handbook to working there, and it was half for people on the shop floor and half for those like in the offices. And obviously but it was just like a blanket thing that they'd give to employees. But I mean, it had like things like heel height. It had a page about using cellulite cream because it like helps the circulation on your legs.
Oh, what, because they're standing up all day in store?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it had a bit about for your own benefit. It's not because we want your legs to look good. It's
nothing.
Good circulation to make sure that you don't get blocked.
Yeah, it had this whole thing like
health and safety.
Do you genuinely think you can wear a pencil skirt? Do you think that would suit you? Like, think twice before wearing it. Like, I so wish I still had a copy of this handbook, because I had a quick look for it. I can't find it anywhere. I don't think it would have been emailed. I think we would have got it, but it like there's no way you could get that now. Like, no way. But it was like, and also like hair color. Like, what's your best hair color? Your nails should always be done. You shouldn't have roots. Like, it was just very much because it was like between shop floor and buying office, but they were just so intertwined. I think like things like you shouldn't have bare legs, you should wear tights, but like nude tights. It was just very odd. Yeah.
I'm sure that you told me about someone that turned up once and basically bumped into the buying director, and she just sort of went,
yeah, it was so this was actually a shop floor attendant who worked, and so they were really strict, like about things like red lipstick and like all sorts. Like, I can't imagine that you could do that now. I don't know, but I was with the buying director because she was doing a like floor sweep, like checking everything out, and then this person turned up for work, and she just stopped and she went, your face is not working today. And we were like, oh, like just like, oh, like, please don't look at me, please don't look at me.
home or something.
Yeah, well, no, I don't know if she had to go home, but she had to go get her hair done, because there was a hairdresser on site, and redo her makeup because the colours were wrong.
Oh my gosh.
I also got looked up and down in the lift by the same person because I was wearing because shorts were in fashion at the time, and I was wearing a pair of like pleather Zara shorts or something, and I got like a real up and down, and she left the lift, she turned around and she went, we don't wear shorts here.
Did you go home and burn them?
Okay.
Like, I can't wear those shorts ever again.
Well, I kept them because I loved them, but I didn't ever wear them. ever
I remember those shorts. I love those.
I remember those shorts. They were more appropriate at the other company you worked at.
Yeah, exactly. I had to learn. It's a learning curve.
A learning curve, yeah. You do think like the first place felt a bit like Devil Wears Prada, but then when you moved, I was like, no, doesn't even touch the edge.
Yeah.
That is the epitome of Devil Wears Prada.
But in terms of moving from one company to another, did you feel quite daunted about that, or was it quite sort of like transferable in terms of the skills that you had?
Not really. Like, I'd say like the industry is super, that is so different, because obviously I went from product based, which is more creative, to brand buying. Like, we weren't in concessions, where in the team that I was, you very much selected what you wanted. But I remember one of my main new jobs was writing the trade report every Monday, and it had to be ready by some ridiculous time. Um, but my buying director she used to be an English literature teacher randomly before she started her like a stellar career in fashion. And so it had to be a properly written report. And you had like your rough template, but you would enter your like, your like percentages, your sales, your price points that have gone through, what have done well, but you would still have to rewrite around it. So all your figures had to be 100% correct, like pulling from spreadsheets, pulling from data, pulling from sales. You'd have to write, your grammar had to be 100% correct.
Oh, wow.
You were not allowed to make any typos. And so it was this fully, like, it would be like 4 or 5 pages long for each product category. Yeah. And I remember just coming home and crying after the first day, because like the stress of trying, like the shock of doing like all these figures and data, and then the writing, like, these are skills that I hadn't used to that extent for years. And like, again, I was back to the world of Excel, because
Yes, gosh.
it's almost purely data when you're doing product buying. Purely data, because you're looking at what you had in, what was selling. You go to obviously the buying showrooms, but the product's already made. So you're looking at what sold well last year, what you think is going to do well this year. Forecasting was huge. And then you'd select based on that data that you had. So there's very little instinct. And also because we were so restricted by where we worked, and you had a very specific like customer base. You couldn't really be that, you weren't really allowed to be that creative with it, because it was like you had groups of people, they buy this kind of stuff, they buy this kind of stuff, they buy this kind of stuff, you need to buy for this person, this person, this person. So you would go into these like incredible designer showrooms of beautiful stuff, really original, like just the craftsmanship, and you'd have to completely go buy it all, just like as in like walk by it, and then go to your standard, white on black, black on white, this check, that check, and it felt tough, like to come from something that had been so creative and so, innovative in many ways, to being completely dictated by data, and someone, and not really trend, just classics. And then finally, because it was this one department store, deliveries was a huge part of my job. So I just spent hours doing invoices, because these deliveries would come into the warehouse, which was all managed on site, but you had such repetitive kind of patterned product that the warehouse workers would just consistently make mistakes, because they wouldn't recognize that was actually the black and white colorway, not the white on black, and so then you'd be left with these invoices of thousands of items that didn't match. And the brands,
annoying. That's
so
painful.
the brands weren't getting paid, and so then they wouldn't deliver, and you'd have to sit there trawling through them, and it was just so maddening. And that's just what I spent so much of my time doing, just like invoice matching. So it was completely different.
Yeah, no, I can understand. So I don't even know if I need to ask this. Which one did you prefer, the more product development or the more branded?
Well, I mean, 100% I miss the product, but it's just such a fast moving industry. Like, I loved working at the retailer that I moved to, because I loved like living the lifestyle vicariously, like completely falsely, like getting discounts on designer, like, spending my entire income back in the store. Like, what a clever clever system from the store. You know, I loved that part of it. I really did. And feeling like I was really glam and like, you know, champagne lifestyle, shoestring budget kind of thing. Yeah.
The May budget. Yeah.
But I just wasn't, I missed that sense of, you know, like how you would walk into the store and you'd see like your hard work there, or like walking around and like just seeing everything as a trend, or, you know, like noticing what everyone's wearing, or like thinking about, oh, that's going to be next. Like I really missed that kind of aspect of everything, because everything was so much more rigid.
Yeah, definitely.
It just wasn't as fun. It wasn't as fun. So definitely always product. Like I still think about it now, because now I think about it with my rose tinted glasses, because obviously I left buying completely at the end. And so I just all I remember is like being like that, you know, very young 20-year-old with my like other buying friends, and like, you know, doing like street style and like predicting trends.
But you never lose those skills. That's quite a nice little segue into, you left buying and you went on to do something different. So what was that like? Was that quite a daunting experience?
That was purely, again, because I was like, I'm sick of like spending all my salary on designer handbags at like half price, and I just want to be the person that goes into the store and buys designer handbags. But actually, again, it was born out of frustration that I did it, because there was lots of movements around in my team, and like basically I was made assistant buyer, and then my contract never turned up, and I'd done my interviews, I'd got an email from HR saying, you've got it, like, here you go, this is going to happen, and I had nothing. And I was emailing and I was asking my boss all the time, like, where's my contract? Like, I've told everyone, like, this is so exciting. And then basically
put it on LinkedIn.
Essentially I was like, here, this is my new role. And they turned around and said they've decided to slash the role because I'm doing fine as I am. And I was like, yeah, I'm an assistant buyer. Like, I'm doing an assistant buyer role. And they're like, yeah, we've decided we're not going to do it. And I was like, what? And I was just I felt so upset and so cross. And I basically was told to get over it because it really affected my mood at work. Cool. And then like, just go over it. It is what it is.
Unsurprisingly, of course it's going to.
Yeah.
Most of them take it away.
I know. You know what it's like. Like, becoming an assistant buyer just feels like the holy grail, because you're finally out of that like entry level, you know, you're on your way, you're going to more of like the buying meetings, you're doing the trips, you know, like it was what I was so excited for. I'd worked really hard for it.
Yeah.
And then
less of the admin, less of those invoice matching.
Exactly. So I just very randomly like put my CV out there, because I'd spoken to someone else who had done the same kind of move. And I moved into the world of like randomly like finance, and so different, but like administrative side, because that is a transferable skill, because of course like I was brilliant with organizing, timing, managing multiple products, people management, like portfolio, but like everything just worked so well, and it was just like quite seamless.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's really inspirational to hear people move out of buying and into what else they can do, because there's so many skills you pick up.
You would be like that. I don't think people understand like how talented the buyers are, because it's such a hard job. You get so little praise, you get so little recognition, you work incredibly long hours. The expectations that people hold of you are so high. And it's female dominated environment. Like, you know, it's one of those very few workplaces where you go where like 90% of your colleagues are women. And, you know, the competition is really tough. You have to do that fine line between like, are you a really strong independent woman who's leading her role, or are you just like, you know, being tarnished with the brush of like, you're just a horrible bitch, basically.
You're walking all over people and your opinions are strong.
Emotionally abusive, aggressive, and like, yes, that it does exist. Actually, it is a huge problem within the industry, because you're taught that you have to be cutthroat in order to get anywhere, and you're treated so badly at entry level that you cannot help but when you get to the next level you think, well, I did it, you know, but like you've got
Yeah.
these tough women who have been
It's
through
hard.
so much.
You want to be
And
a
then yeah,
selective.
you're amazing in any other job, because any other job is like, it's nothing. Like I've never felt stressed in the same level before. I feel like I'm like I'm just not bothered. Like I've worked,
You
like,
should be in the trenches, because where I'm from.
yeah, like honestly, because obviously I work with like company owners now,
Yeah.
like business leaders, entrepreneurs, a lot of like big male personalities as well, and like there is like a huge sense of hierarchy, quite outdated. Like now I work mostly in like male dominated environments, which comes with its own huge set of problems, but I'm utterly unfazed. Like I have no fear of hierarchy, because I just think none of you are nearly as scary as
Yeah,
I've dealt with.
Kate, we've talked a lot about, haven't we, about how you know, management styles from well, we had to do it like that. So, but we're very much about wanting
breaking
to
the mold.
we want to change that mindset and make
I agree.
managers more of a aspirational presence in people's careers, rather than a daunting, like, you must do this, hit you over the head, throw a pair of socks at you.
I don't think you get the best work out of people. Like at the product-based retailer, I went through a spell of being really sad and like, you know, like crying quite a lot at work, like crying in the toilets, crying in the knicker room, like putting away my frilly knickers. Because once again, I couldn't find the right frilly colorway for trade on Monday morning, because like they would always be taken. I don't know who was, someone was stealing my frilly knickers. I'm so sure of it.
Samples would always go missing though, wouldn't they? Samples would always go, and it would always be the best sellers. It would always be the sample that you needed. It would always be the one that you were like, I know where I put this, so someone's definitely taken it. It's not my bad filing system.
Yeah, and then like all things that I remember, you have to check and check again. It's so important buying, like, because the mistakes don't get picked up till later down the road. Like, you know, and so, you know, like anyway, so I went through this spate. I just felt like everything I was doing I was wrong, like, you know, constantly being told off, like I was working so late, like they just didn't care, like you know, and then like I turned around one day and I thought, I'm just going to start listing everything that went right, because all I was being told was what was going wrong, like what wasn't good enough, and I had completely lost sight of the fact that actually I'm there all day. I'm not making mistakes all day, and I cannot tell you how much it changed. Like the rest of my career anywhere else was like writing down that, okay, this didn't go well, but actually I did this, I did this, I did this, and like you suddenly realize you do like an amazing job all the time.
Yeah, it's just talk to-do lists and how they can end, like feel never ending. And you said at the beginning how, like, you know, you just feel like you've never completed it. Like there's always more to do. And I remember being told once, instead of just having your to-do list, have your to-da list. Ta-da! This is what I've done. And I love that.
That's exactly what it is. No, exactly. And you know, I got it from that book. This is how old I am, just revealing everything. But do you remember The Secret?
Yes.
Like, my gosh.
I remember us all suddenly reading that. It was around the time that we all started drinking oolong tea as well.
Yes, coconut water, oolong tea. Do you remember the oolong? Because I know Victoria Beckham drank.
I vividly remember the oolong tea. And I also remember one of our trauma friends going through dates, because she was like, it's sweet, it gets that fix, but it's not like chocolate. And also I'm sure there was a phase of meringues, because she was like, it's basically air. I was like,
oh my gosh, yeah,
a really sugary piece of air.
I just remember the coconut water, like that was huge, coconut water. But
I didn't understand them, but I really like it now. But I think it's because I didn't like it before. I didn't like the texture because it had the bits in it. It's good for you, so keep drinking it. You're like, okay.
It will make you thin. It will make you thin, because like that was it. So it's the noughties, wasn't it? So everyone just wanted to be.
Yeah, I think I found that really hard, because I think that there was so much of that.
So much focus is on raise your profile.
Yes.
And raise your profile was not always just through your work. Do you remember raise your profile, wear that red lipstick? Raise your profile, wear the latest trends, raise your profile. Like that's how you get noticed.
Yeah. And trends and diets were trends back then. Like they were a huge trend. Like if you were following the latest diet, because that was the birth of the South Beach diet, the Atkins diet. What was that one that Kate Middleton supposedly did? Was that Dukan diet?
Oh, just a wedding, wasn't that?
Yeah. Where you don't eat vegetables, you just eat meat.
Yeah.
Got about the Dukan
yeah.
to me always reminded me of Dunkin' Donuts though, which was taking it completely the wrong way. I do the Dunkin' Donuts, the Dukan.
So this was like a really great time for some retail therapy.
So I genuinely don't really know because I've got so many. I've got so many embarrassing memories. But I was trying to think of like my most specific like buying ones. And I probably like the first one would probably be my Christmas party at the first place.
Yeah,
which
we
I was like,
all
should I
remember
mention this? Should I not mention this? But like that would be, if I was being true to myself and my memories, that will forever be one of the most embarrassing memories of my life. Which almost isn't a memory because I don't really remember the incident itself. But it was my first ever Christmas party at the retailer where we were all together. And you know, I'm gonna bang the drum. I was like 21. I was really young.
And also they go big. They go big. Like
They
the
go
whole
big.
thing. Like you plan your outfit for ages. There's a big build up. There's drinks in the office before you
As we've already we've already discussed, no one was eating. You know, and then it was like free drink, and I just, you know, went wild and basically was so drunk that I was vomiting at the place. No taxi would take me.
Really early on.
Really early on. I was hungry again. And like in front of everyone, you know, an absolute state. Completely not able to do anything, falling over. I can remember, you know, that feeling when you would fall. I guess I don't know if the latest generation do this kind of drinking anymore, but like you used to have this, you used to know when you tumbled because you would just sort of see the world move, wouldn't you? And like and like that was happening, and no taxi would take me. So my boyfriend at the time had to drive across London to come and collect me. And I knew that I was in trouble. Like
you were just you were sat out, they sat you outside the venue on a chair.
Yeah, on the chair.
On a chair.
Where's Calli? Where's Calli? She's outside on the chair.
And also it wasn't a Friday or something. I had to come into work the next day, but I couldn't come into work.
Yeah.
Because I was still drunk. And I called my boss at the time in the morning and be like, I'm still drunk. I can't come in today. Because like, what on earth? I cannot believe. And then of course, well, then that was the Friday. And then I had the weekend and I had to come in on Monday for the first time.
Oh, that Sunday night fear must have been epic.
Absolutely. Like you know, I'd kind of made peace with the fact I was being fired. Because I was not quite
it's over, it's fine. It's over.
Yeah, it's like, you know, you've got to cut your losses. And so that is my most embarrassing memory of all time. I've never ever got drunk at a work Christmas party since, by the way.
Because it haunted you so much.
So much.
I have to say, if you hadn't have got so drunk at that point, that was the same Christmas party that Lindsay and I, at the very end, went to the bar to try and order something, and they were like, oh no, there's none of that, like we drunk the bar dry, Cal, like that's probably why. Like you definitely helped with that. And I remember as we'd been walking towards it, that was when I slipped because there was a drink on the floor, and I literally went, like, feet went flying and landed smack on my back on the floor. So you know, you would have, if you hadn't fallen earlier, you would have fallen later with us for sure.
Yeah,
there you go.
Absolutely.
Fine.
Thanks for that, Calli. That's yeah, absolutely kind of sums up our experience in buying at the beginning. Really.
Can I just say,
you fall down, but you get back up again.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, we talked about it being like a really female environment. Benefit of being a 90% female workplace where we all fully support each other, and there's no, you know, you all come together because you're all fighting for the same outcome. And
exactly.
Yeah,
I have to say, it's the hardest working environment I've ever been in. And like it was led by, and it's predominantly women. Like, you know, I mean, they obviously work hard where I am now, but it's not got the same kind of sense of like, you know, blood, sweat and tears, like really like the pride that everyone had in their work, you know, like, and like the desire to achieve and like to like have like these really tangible results and see like beautiful things be made and like, you know, like I've never worked anywhere like it since.
Yeah, for sure. But that's really reflective in how successful the company was as well.
I also think it's the female energy. I think women, you know, like you are undersold. Like you're passionate, you're emotional, you are inventive, you take risks, like you're creative. Like I think there's so many dynamics to like that are actually more female focused, and that's a really good thing.
Yeah.
Like, and you know, to have a company that has that kind of collective energy of women, yes, pitched against each other. Yes, it can feel a little bit more, you know, like catty and stuff, because I think we're more emotionally intelligent in many ways. Like, so like it does mean that things can be delivered in quite like a like ooh kind of way. But the, you know, the camaraderie from it as well, and like all the benefits, like you were saying, Katie, like, you know, it's something that should be celebrated. But it's just not seen as much. It's not given as much of like presence in like the media or any discussions about careers and workplaces. Like, you know, the friendships that I've made and have maintained and who I am as a person now is absolutely shaped by those formative years of working in such a female dominated environment. Like I said, I'm not scared of anyone.
Yeah. And you found your soul sisters.
I found my soul sisters. I've got my tribe for life, you know.
Yeah.
It was an amazing experience. It shaped who I am.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't change it for the world. Yeah.
Oh, well, that's such a nice one to end on, isn't it? Such a nice note to end on.
Well, thanks, guys. I've really enjoyed it.
Oh, it's been so good having you on. I've really enjoyed it. I've got goosebumps. I've had so much fun.
Oh, lovely. Shall we now go for a drink? Non-alcoholic. Carry on the chat down memory lane.
Yeah.
If you've enjoyed listening to this episode, please, please, please like and subscribe and leave a review. And if you already have, thank you, thank you, thank you. We all need a bit of retail therapy, and this is the perfect time for you to offload about that super cringeworthy story. We would love to hear from you all, your funny stories and experiences, or even any dilemmas, and maybe we can help, or at least find someone who can. And don't worry, we will keep these anonymous and remove any names and brands.
We would also love to hear from you on any topics you would like us to talk about. Please send all of these into buyingandbeyond@gmail.com or drop us a DM via our Instagram page @buyingandbeyond. Kate, are you a drama queen?
No,
Drama just makes things interesting.
that's true.
All these thoughts and opinions are our own and based on our own experiences working for a wide variety of retailers. These are all in the hope to entertain and educate, and not to reflect negatively on any place we currently or have previously worked.